The world Rome ruled had grown old. Its roads still stretched across continents, its walls still cast long shadows. But something within the empire was cracking. Generals argued, emperors rose and fell like autumn leaves, and the once invincible legions now fought more to survive than to conquer. Rome still called itself eternal, but eternity was beginning to whisper its doubts. Far to the south, beyond deserts Rome never truly mastered, a different kind of force was awakening. In the sands of Arabia, tribes long divided by blood and rivalry were being bound together by a single idea. One God, one message, one purpose. What began as faith soon became movement. What began as belief became momentum. And momentum, when guided by conviction, can move mountains or empires. When these two worlds finally collided, it was not with a single dramatic declaration. It happened quietly at first. Raids on distant borders, unfamiliar banners appearing on the horizon, Roman commanders underestimating an enemy they barely understood. To Rome, these forces seemed temporary, fragile, unrefined. Rome had made that mistake before. It rarely survived it twice. The first great shock came in Syria. Roman cities that had stood for centuries, Damascus, Antioch, Jerusalem, felt the tremor. These were not just military losses, they were spiritual wounds. Jerusalem's sacred grounds, soaked in centuries of prayer and blood, changed hands. Egypt followed, Rome's ancient breadbaskets slipping away like sand through open fingers. But this was no simple tale of conquest. The Islamic armies did not come to erase the world they entered. They came to reorder it. Roman administration was studied, adapted. Greek knowledge was preserved, translated, carried forward. Laws were reshaped, not burned. Faith became the engine, but governance became the structure. Rome fought back when it could. The Byzantine emperors fortified Constantinople, their golden city standing defiant between Europe and Asia. Siege after siege crashed against its walls. Fire rained from the sea, steel met stone. The city survived, not because Rome was stronger, but because it had learned to endure. Yet even survival could not stop the transformation already underway. Trade routes shifted. Languages changed. Scholars moved east instead of west. The center of gravity of the known world began to slide away from old Roman capitals toward new Islamic ones. Damascus, Baghdad, Cairo. Where Rome once dictated the rhythm of history, it now shared the stage. This clash did not end with a final battle or a clear victor. Instead, it reshaped civilization itself. Europe would slowly rebuild from Rome's fading shadow. The Islamic world would enter a golden age of science, medicine, mathematics, and philosophy, much of it built upon Roman and Greek foundation. Two worlds, once enemies, became unexpected partners in the long relay of human progress. Rome versus Islam was never just about who ruled land. It was about how the world would think, believe, govern, and remember. From that collision emerged a new global order, one where empires could fall, faith could rise, and history would never move in a straight line again. The most important battles between Rome and Islam were not always fought with swords. Some were fought in silence. As armies clashed on open plains and desert roads, another struggle unfolded inside cities, libraries, courts, and hearts. This was a war of ideas, slow, invisible, and far more permanent than any victory carved into stone. Rome had ruled by structure. Its laws were written, its hierarchy fixed, its authority enforced from the top down. Even when emperors fell, the system remained. Order was Rome's religion long before faith ever was. Islam arrived with something different. Not just an army, but a message. Not just command, but meaning. When Islamic forces entered Roman lands, they did not simply tear down institutions. They stepped inside them. Roman tax systems were studied. Local administrators were retained. Cities continued to function. To the common people, farmers, merchants, craftsmen, life did not collapse. In many places, it became simpler. This was Rome's first unseen defeat. Because Rome understood rebellion, it understood invasion. But it struggled to understand why conquered populations were not rising up against their new rulers. Faith changed the equation. Islam spoke directly to the individual. No emperor between man and God, no elite bloodline claiming divine favor. This idea traveled faster than reality. In marketplaces, in homes, in whispered conversations after sunset, people listened. Some resisted, some doubted. Many adapted. Rome had relied on identity. You are Roman because Rome says so. Islam offered belonging. You are part of this because you believe. And belief is harder to defeat than legions. Meanwhile, the battlefield shifted in knowledge. As Roman control weakened, something extraordinary happened. Greek philosophy, Roman science, and ancient texts, once locked away in fading imperial centers, were gathered, translated, preserved. While Western Europe stumbled into fragmentation, the Islamic world became a guardian of civilization's memory. Hospitals replaced temples of superstition. Scholars debated reason and faith in the same breath. Mathematics advanced. Astronomy looked upward with new purpose. Medicine treated illness as something to understand, not fear. Rome had conquered the world with discipline. Islam began reshaping it with intellect. Yet this was not a one-sided triumph. Constantinople still stood, defiant, brilliant, wounded but alive. Its walls held not just soldiers, but the idea that Rome in some form still mattered. Greek fire burned across the sea. Diplomacy replaced brute force. Trade flowed even between enemies. The clash matured. No longer destruction, but influence. Markets blended cultures. Words crossed languages. Laws echoed across borders. The Roman world and the Islamic world became rivals locked in tension, yet connected by necessity. And in that tension, something new was born. A world where power was no longer monopolized by one empire. A world where faith could mobilize nations. A world where knowledge could travel farther than armies ever had. This was Rome's quiet surrender, not to swords, but to change. The empire that once shaped the world through conquest now watched as the world reshaped itself through belief, learning, and adaptation. And Islam, born in the desert, discovered that its greatest victories would not always be measured in territory, but in legacy. History remembers wars for their blood. But it is these silent battles, the ones fought in minds and manuscripts, that decide who truly shapes the future. Every great clash leaves ruins behind, but some leave foundations. When the dust settled from centuries of conflict between Rome and Islam, the world that stood up again was not the one Rome had built, nor was it entirely new. It was something forged in between, shaped by loss, survival, and transformation. Rome did not fall in a single night. It faded. Its western half dissolved into fragments. Kingdoms built on Roman bones, speaking Roman tongues, enforcing Roman laws without Roman emperors. The name of Rome still carried weight, but the power had moved on. Authority was no longer universal. The world was becoming divided, regional, uncertain. In the East, the empire endured, but changed. Byzantium was Roman memory, not in reach. It became a fortress civilization, defending its faith, its capital, and its identity against a world that no longer revolved around it. Constantinople stood as a living reminder that the old order was not dead, only diminished. Meanwhile, the Islamic world expanded with purpose. From Iberia to Central Asia, a new civilization connected lands Rome had never unified. Trade flowed across deserts and seas. Gold, spices, ideas, and inventions traveled freely within a shared cultural and religious framework. What Rome once attempted with force, Islam achieved through cohesion. Cities became the heartbeat of this new world. Baghdad rose where no Roman capital had ever stood, designed for scholars, merchants, and thinkers. Cairo commanded the crossroads of continents. Cordoba shone brighter than any European city of its time, lit by knowledge while others lived in shadow. This was not just expansion, it was a shift in civilization's center. Europe, once the ruler, became the student. Knowledge preserved and expanded in the Islamic world would one day return west, through Spain, Sicily, and the Crusades. Algebra, medicine, astronomy, philosophy, all carried back across borders that once bled from war. The Renaissance would later claim rebirth, but its seeds were planted in this exchange. Rome versus Islam did not end with domination. It ended with inheritance. Rome's law lived on. Its language survived in new forms. Its ideas traveled under new banners. And Islam, shaped by its encounter with Rome, emerged not just as a faith, but as a civilization confident enough to absorb, adapt, and advance what came before it. This clash broke the illusion of a single eternal empire. In its place rose a multipolar world, where power shifted, cultures interacted, and history moved forward through contact, not isolation. The Mediterranean was no longer Rome's leg. It became a bridge between continents, between faiths, between past and future. And from that bridge, the modern world began to take shape. Empires would rise again. Faiths would clash again. but never in the same way, because Roman Islam had already shown history a new path. Not conquest without end, but transformation without reverse.